Not all these BMPs have to be implemented, like for the TMDLs, at one time, but over the life of that permit. I believe it's 5 years. So you've got to budget for this. You've got to go to your elected officials, and I'm sure you've all thought of this, and say, hey, we have to do this. It's going to cost money, especially where you have to retrofit and put BMPs in. We've already been speaking with our county commissioners and our board about this months ago and preparing them for this. This is going to cost an additional monies. Where are we going to get them? How are we going to budget them out, through that period? Because you have to have a schedule with the implementation of these BMPs. Make someone responsible. Designate someone. For example, if any of you have designated floodplains, or they call special flood hazard areas, I'm sure many of you do. Under the new update of the requirements, your ordinances all had to in Dauphin County by August 2nd, had to have them adopted. In that new ordinance, it requires that every municipality designate what they call a floodplain administrator. I use it as an example. Not a bad idea for this. Designate someone in a position of being stormwater management administrator. And they're responsible for all this stuff. So nothing gets overlooked. Nothing is done twice. You don't need redundancy. And again, assure that documentation. An option is to provide a link to our website. Even if you're outside of the county, it might be worth doing that. And if you are in the county, of course, I talked about the MOU with us for that those 4 and 5. Adopt, enforce, and document required ordinances. And you have to do that and review and update your plan. Chapter 102, all you're subject to this. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on this. I think MS4 is really something that's really, really relevant right now. This is ongoing and has been ongoing for a long time. Again, it ties in with that MS4 and with the NPDES permit requirements. These were changes to it, a number of them. These NPDES permits are required at 1 acre of disturbance. Again, they are implemented through the 102 program, tied in together. Post-construction stormwater management requires recorded long-term operation and maintenance instruments. This is something new. And I'll talk about what your municipal responsibility is under this particular requirement. But for these BMPs that have to be put in for post-construction stormwater management, the permittee is required to make arrangements and have it recorded to designate who's going to take care of that. Who's responsible for operation and maintenance? Many of these, and I'm sure a number of you have had to deal with this. I get phone calls all the time about them. Hey, this detention basin failed, and now my yard's a stream. And all this junk's coming down in my yard. Who's responsible for that? Well, under this, you don't have to worry about that. That has to be designated by the permittee or someone else responsible by the permittee to make arrangements for that in perpetuity. It's a covenant that goes with the land. However, we've got about, 30 or 40 years of rapid development when this wasn't done. So then you've got a mess. Well, then you've got the landowner calling up the municipality. You fix it. It's your responsibility. No, it isn't private land. It wasn't under a permit. Then they call us up. Well, you got to fix it. And then, well, no, we can tell you how. I can tell you how to take care of it on your property, various methods and techniques. But we can't enforce it. We're not an enforcement agency. And the biggest question, well, okay, I can do this. It'll handle a problem. Who pays for it? And then eventually, sometimes it ends up with attorneys becoming involved. And you like to do as much as you can not to deal with that. But this, I think, was one of the best things they did with this particular program update. There are some additional requirements for agriculture. These permits are required for heavy animal use areas, and if you have a field within 100 feet of streams with less than 25% cover or residue. And these are basically handled under agricultural conservation plans. And actually something else that we do at the Conservation District in concert with the Department of Agriculture. Also riparian or using stream-side forest buffer requirements for those projects which discharge to again, exceptional value and high quality watersheds. We're all familiar with those terms, exceptional value, high quality. Every stream out there has basically a designation by DEP, and it has a classification. Exceptional value is almost pristine. That's like a mountain stream. And as you imagine, the cleaner that stream is and more pristine it is, the higher those requirements are. And especially high quality waterways, high quality cold water fisheries require additional types of things be done. Again, the post-construction BMPs is again under Chapter 102 requirements. A licensed professional or designee must be present on site during critical stages of this is called post-construction stormwater management plan implementation. Permittee must include a certified record drawings as built with permit, notice of termination. This is after a project's done. They send a notice of termination to us, and we process that. And these are forwarded eventually to the Department of Environmental Protection. And you don't need to get involved in this, but you may want to obtain a copy of this for your files. And also, if you have a model ordinance, there was a model ordinance that was developed as part of this. And if your ordinance deals with this, in your county-wide Act 160 contains language, it may contain language that requires these recordings be submitted to the municipality. It's not a must, but it's not a bad idea. The permittee, developer, contractor, whatever you may have, is responsible for the long-term operation and maintenance of these BMPs, unless another person has agreed to accept the responsibilities identified in the notice of intent, and they have to be. For example, it's a housing project. Who's going to be responsible for all those BMPs that were installed? The rain gardens, the swales, the infiltration beds. That has to be determined, again, and recorded and runs as a covenant with the land. So it is going to be the developer, it's going to be the homeowners association, something like that. But somebody has responsibility for it. An instrument, again, must be recorded and submitted with a notice of termination. Identifies the BMP or BMPs, provides access to them for operation and maintenance, and provides notice that the long-term operation and maintenance of this BMP is a covenant, again, repeat, that runs with the land is binding upon the subsequent grantees or owners, whoever takes over that project. Again, the person responsible for long-term maintenance of BMPs may transfer the responsibility to another entity, provide notice of such to DEP, may give it to somebody else, and when they sell the property. Again, the permittee or entity that agrees to accept this responsibility is responsible along with the landowner for the long-term operation and maintenance of BMPs located on their property. Responsibilities. It is not the responsibility of the municipality, conservation district, or county planning commission to review, approve, or record the documents that need to be recorded. That's incumbent upon the permittee. They have to assure that. It is not the responsibility of the municipality or conservation district to inspect or maintain these BMPs. However, if you're under an MS4 permit, then you must ensure that these BMPs are inspected. That doesn't mean your engineer has to do it, but you have to ensure that they are by a qualified engineer or qualified person to inspect these, that they are working correctly. Complaints or issues with unmaintained BMPs, there's a few of those around, may be referred to the Department of Environmental Protection if there was a permit issued. Most of these, there should have been some kind of permit issued. If not, another issue. However, the County-wide Act 160 Plan model ordinance language addresses responsibility of long-term operation and maintenance if you have that in your ordinance. This language applies whether there's a permit or not. This gives municipalities the authority to enforce, gives you the authority to enforce the long-term operation and maintenance of these. But that's up to you. It's not a bad idea, but it does entail some expense. Who inspects to determine violations? Act 160 language for this states a municipality may require inspection reports. Another option may be an ordinance revision requiring the landlord or responsible party to submit a periodic inspection report to the municipality stating the BMP is functioning properly. If not, what maintenance has to be done, when it's going to be done, and of course issuing a follow-up report that it has been done, and of course the municipality may want these reports to be certified by a professional and qualified professional. Again, another option may be a municipality to retain qualified staff to do the inspections. Someone who is qualified to do these. Again, that would be it could be a current staff person, or you may want to hire somebody if budgets allow. And again, these are just recommendations. really something to think about. Municipal Response Order 102, notify Conservation District within 5 days. This you should be doing. At least in Dauphin County, within 5 days, receiving application for permits involving, again, 1 acre or more of land disturbance. And that would be for, housing projects, any types of things such as that, or more of land disturbance. Municipalities may not issue permits or approvals for projects requiring an E&S permit or an individual or general NPS permit until those permits have been issued, and that's a must. You cannot issue building permits, you cannot issue floodplain permits, variances, whatever, until those particular things are satisfied. Then, full speed ahead. What should municipalities be doing for E&S? If you're in Dauphin County, appreciate if you distribute our fact sheet with a permit application. When our county you don't have this, might be a good idea to talk to the entity that does your 102 and have to do this for them. Notify, again, us within 5 days receiving permit application, 1 acre or more. Again, do not issue permits or approvals until the applicant has obtained the necessary permits and, of course, NPDES coverage, and certainly forward complaints to us when it deals with 102, with active projects. Stormwater management, things that are going off there, we can't really deal with. But these things that we do through our responsibilities in 102 permitting and NPS permitting, we do take complaints on those, and we try to resolve the issues and work closely with DEP and the municipalities to resolve those issues. TMDLs. I'm getting toward the end here, so relief is on the way. And I have one slide on this because this is a whole issue in itself. What is a TMDL? Okay. DEP assesses, as you know, all streams within the Commonwealth. They are all assessed and monitored and given a classification, basically. What that classification is based upon the nature of that stream. Maybe classified as a warm water fishery, a high quality cold water fishery, trout stocking, something like that. And with that, they have established certain water quality criteria that have to, and requirements that have to be met. If they don't meet those water quality requirements, because basically they're polluted, they're considered impaired. Now, for a number of impaired streams, not all certainly, a number of impaired streams, they develop what they call that total maximum daily load. It's really a pollution diet. It's how much of this stuff, whatever that pollutant may be, sediment, mostly sediment nutrients is the most common. How much can that stream absorb and still maintain its water quality, meet its water quality requirements, its uses, designated use, which is like say cold water fishery. And of course, this is to develop this. This is basically to bring that, eliminate that source of impairment to that stream. TMDL is basically calculated on what they call a waste load allocation from point sources. If it has, MS4s are considered point sources. If it has a wastewater treatment plant on it, something like that, industrial discharge. The load allocation, non-point, just runoff, general runoff, natural levels, and a margin of safety. And all that together adds up to a numerical value. Again, I'm getting down to the end here. What else can municipalities do to manage storm effectively? There's some ideas. Revise your ordinance to, of course, minimize impervious cover. The less you have to deal with, the better. Street width, if you can, of course, you have to meet safety requirements for various other purposes, as you know, to the extent you can. Setbacks, again, parking requirements. Allow flexibility or options in site design for clustering and open space. If a developer wants to do this and put in these very innovative design features, take away impediments to it. Most do not have them in, some do. Require impervious cover disconnections. That means downspouts. Instead of running them right into a street, into an inlet, have them run them into the yard or a grassed area or something like that, dispersed over somewhere where it can soak in. And also, impervious, disconnect from impervious cover. Require protection or establishment of stream buffers. It's something that's not that complicated.